Brandon Bernard executed in Indiana after SCOTUS rejects delay request. So the crime this guy committed when he was 18 was he was involved in the killing of 2 youth ministers. Involved. So he was with 4 people. Other people shot the ministers. They used the guns, but they weren't over 18 or 18, so they didn't qualify for the death penalty. Bernard was there at the age of 18 as these people got shot during an armed robbery, and due to being 18, he was placed on death row. This is him, a recent clip from him.
I'm locked up in my room 23 hours a day. And that's been the case for 17 years. I have learned to entertain myself, to keep myself motivated in here. And I've done all kinds of things. I read a lot. And I do crochet blankets and scarves, and I do hats, all kinds of things.
This isn't a man that should be executed for a crime he was involved in when he was 18. He didn't even pull the trigger. He did not murder anybody. He was seen as complicit. They did not want to execute him, but the Trump administration pushed this forward. They made sure this happened before Trump left. Usually when a president is in office and he's about to leave, they put a hold on things like this, and they'll say like, hey, we will let the next administration handle cases like this. But the Trump administration, of course, we should have expected it. They pushed right ahead, and they made sure that this man was executed by lethal injection.
It feels good to create something. I practice the guitar. I feel like I'm getting better, but that's up for debate. But I keep doing it. And I write. And it's just, I've taken a couple of college courses, writing course and stuff like that, in order to just motivate myself to just change. You know, I don't have to be stagnant because I'm in here. I can always improve on myself. Maybe not as much as people in the world can, but still, there's an opportunity to improve yourself. And for that, I have to take it. For those that believe in me out in the world and for myself. And in being in here, one thing I've learned is that I have to do things for myself. When you try to do things for others, to try to appease others, it's not natural. And I feel like I've learned that these improvements I need to do for myself. So then they hold and they stand through test of time.
This man was taken and injected with deadly chemicals that destroyed him from the inside out. And our society is happy with that because they don't have to see somebody get shot or something. It makes them feel better. It makes them feel like it's harmless. But a lethal injection is terrible to go through. It's very expensive. They wasted hundreds of thousands of dollars on killing this man in legal fees for no reason other than bloodlust. So a death sentence costs more than life in prison, far more when it comes to legal fees. When it comes to getting the injection, since most first world countries rolled out, killing people as a form of, or like capital punishment, the injection cost more due to demand. So a death sentence actually costs more than putting somebody in prison. We know that. The death penalty doesn't make us safer. There's no data at all that says death penalties are a deterrent to crime. In reality, death penalties and the legal processes associated with it actually make us less safe because it takes resources away from other branches of our legal process to make them work better. So it really occupies a lot of resources. It's really bad. The death penalty doesn't provide closure to the victims' families. I know in, Twitter posts or whatever, people in the comments will be saying, oh, he deserves to die. I want blood. So many Americans want blood. So many Americans, so many people want to see somebody die. They want to see them suffer. They're like, oh, they killed somebody. I want to see that happen to them. It doesn't provide closures for the family, though. Most families who have somebody that's murdered, that they know, they don't want to see the person get killed. It isn't real closure. That blood, lust isn't real closure. You can put somebody in prison for life. You don't need to kill them. And innocent people have been executed. A very high percentage of people who are actually tried and killed by the death penalty are obviously going to be people of color. There's multiple Supreme Court decisions when it comes to this. So in this 2003 Supreme Court case, the Supreme Court ruled in favor that this guy Miller L. should have been given the opportunity to prove that his death sentence was the result of discriminatory jury practices. Such practices included the so-called Texas Shuffle. So the Texas Shuffle is basically when they would like shuffle out different jurors. So people who were deciding on the case, they would try to shuffle out people of color and make sure it was all white, so there would be a worse ruling. Death penalties sentences in Georgia were racially biased related to the race of the victim. The court ruled against this, ruling that racial disparities in the death penalty were not a violation of one's constitutional right of an equal protection of the law. So this ruling said that racial disparities in the death penalty were not a violation of one's constitutional right of an equal protection under the law. That's crazy. Yeah, so many religious conservatives are pro-death penalty. But considering the history of said religions, I wouldn't be very surprised that those people would be hungry for blood when it comes to retribution and an eye for an eye or whatever. According to a study done by Susquehanna University, each death penalty inmate is approximately 1.12 million more than a general population inmate. So if you keep somebody on death row, they're going to cost $1.12 million more on average throughout the entire process than it would to just keep them in jail for like a life sentence. The only way you would save money possibly on this, which is absolutely freaking cruel, is if you like executed somebody when they were 19. Because the average life expectancy in the US is like 77. So if you execute them when they're like 18, 19, 20, then you will save money on it. But if you execute somebody after the age of 30, which is a terrible argument, obviously, because then you're like, you'd hear some crazy say, we should do it earlier then, of course. But yeah. And the state shouldn't be deciding who lives or dies. The state shouldn't play God